I pursued my PhD for 4 years in aerospace engineering and also sent a couple of satellites into outer space. In this video, I want to see if AI can pursue its PhD, me being its advisor in this time, and do it in less than 1 hour. This is a challenge I'm giving AI today because there's a lot of talks about education systems being obsolete. There's no need for professors. The universities will be over in a couple of years and so on. We're going to put that into a test right now. We're going to do an experiment over here. I'm going to give it my research topic that I did during my PhD and see how it goes. A quick disclaimer over here, I've removed all the logos, the names, and so on from the PhD. But Manus, or the tool you're going to be using, was able to pull out information from the internet and attach it to the papers and some publications over here. So that's just a quick disclaimer. That being said, let's get into the screen right now and get started with this experiment. So the challenge is, can AI do a 4-year PhD in less than 1 hour? The roles that we're going to take is the student being the AI, which is Manus AI. I just subscribed to the starter pack. As you can see, it's $39 per month. And I think it's quite expensive given the AI tools that exist right now, OpenAI, Claude, and all that. And the faculty member over here is me, similar structure I had during my PhD. The criteria extracted from my PhD exactly is that the student must complete his or her PhD research dissertation that involves novel, creative, and research-oriented work under the direct supervision of at least one advisor, being me in this case. The outcome of the research should demonstrate the synthesis of information into knowledge in a form that may be used by others, meaning that citations, publications, or filling a gap or having a contribution within the field of the chosen field that we're going to talk about. The research findings must be documented in a formal dissertation and defended successfully. So the major over here we're going to go after is aerospace engineering. The research topic is circular restricted three-body problem application to Saturn and Jupiter. Don't be intimidated by this. We're going to take AI and let it take care of everything. The provided documents is as follows. By the way, I just put this in here is that I came up with certain structures, for example, how to do literature review, what are the columns, what are the rows, and so on, way before GPT was here. That means that it took a lot of brain power. Right now, it's just in one click. So life is much easier. If you're going to do your PhD or you're doing your PhD, this is just use GPT. So the documents that we're going to provide are the exact documents I got during my PhD. I just removed the logos. I removed unnecessary information such as the grade or attendance and so on, because that's irrelevant in this case. And I'm just going to provide the documents over here. And these are the documents, which are PhD program information, research topic information, problem definition template. It's a template, it's not information over here. Main paper, which is the paper that the advisor gave me, and I'm going to give it to the AI. And this is basically the research to build upon. The research proposal, guidelines and sample, dissertation guidelines, and publication sample. So the success criteria, how do we see if AI did a good job in terms of going after pursuing its PhD and actually succeeding? So this is the qualifications or the success criteria that I had to go through. Some of them are irrelevant in this case because, for example, an exam is not feasible right now to do it on this video with the AI tool and so on. So essentially, the knowledge base, the courses, does the PhD or the candidate over here have enough knowledge to pass a PhD, which is Manus AI? I assume if it's an LLM trained on data, it has the knowledge. And qualifying exam over here, not feasible in this case. Research proposal exam, feasible. I'm going to make it define a problem and see if it comes up with a proper proposal or not. A dissertation, of course, we're going to give it the template for that. A publication paper, we're going to see if it's possible to find a gap within the research field that we just give it. And basically, I wanted to search the web. So let me clear my thoughts here. I wanted to search the World Wide Web, the www. So the World Wide Web, and see all the publications over there and see what's the research gap, and then find that gap and solve for that gap and come up with a publication paper by going through certain simulations, like creating code, writing certain scripts, and so on, doing certain simulations, and then making that into a scientific paper that addresses that gap that I can publish to the top scientific journals. So this is my challenge for this AI over here. So the path we're going to take is exactly the path I took for my PhD. And I'm not going to give it more information than this. I'm not going to give it the papers that I dug out, my literature review, the problem how I define the problem. I'm just going to give it the initial information they gave me to go forward with my PhD. So one is define the problem, one pager. Two is perform a literature survey. I'm going to keep it up to him how or the AI how to decide to do that. It's going to write the PhD research proposal. It's going to defend its proposal with a presentation. It's going to write publications. It's going to write a dissertation as well. And then it's going to defend the research with a presentation. So I put this exact document over here into Chat GPT, and this is a prompt it came out with. So I'm going to just use this prompt. I'm not going to even think about writing anything extra. But just so you have a clear idea of the papers that we have, like the files we're going to upload, this is the research topic, a quick brief, a quick problem statement over here, the desirable outcomes, and the key references. Then the problem definition template is just title, abstract, methodology reference. This is how you're going to do it. The literature review is it's like this. This is the table. This is the dates and whatever you're going to use as the headers, and how are you going to basically distinguish between each one. And then you have the proposal guidelines. This is the guidelines. This is how you're going to submit it, how it's going to be formatted, what's the quotations, what's the citations, how are we going to examine you, how are we going to get results, and so on, and a couple of other papers that we're going to share. So these are the documents we're going to share to Manus. And now let's get into Manus and see if we can actually do this and make it get its PhD and call it Dr. Manus by the end of this. So I've uploaded everything into Manus right now. So the problem was that the prompt was too long. So I just pasted it. It converted it into a text file. And now I'm just going to click fire and let's see what happens. So this is going to take a while. So Manus seems to have received the message along several attachments. Amazing. Now it's updating the plan. What's going to do, it's going to open a tab over here. And it's looking at the prompt. I think it's going to write down the tasks. Okay, amazing. It's going to read all and analyze the PhD documents, extract key requirements, analyze the research topic and problem definition, conduct literature review, everything that I told it to do, along with creating a space themed landing page and package all deliverables for the user. Amazing. This is a job that it's going to do. It's going to take a while, I assume. And if it does, I'm going to fast forward this video until it's done with the task. So amazing. Manus just completed its PhD. So let's look at two things. One, how much did it cost? And two, how long did it take? So how long it take? It took around from 8:38 up to 9:15. That's around 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes. And the time it took, I look at the credits, and the credits were 3,900, and now it's 3,200, 3,900 being $39 per month. So it took around, let's say, $5. A rough estimate over here is around $5. $5 to do your PhD, and it took it 40 minutes. So let's look at the results. What I really loved in terms of the results and the task, I'm going to look into the task one by one, but what I really loved is this landing page over here. Look how amazing it is. Let's just refresh. It's a landing page. It gives you the research title. It gives you these nice animations over here with links and so on. And you can see how cool it is. And then when you click on a button, you click research, it goes down to the approach. It summarizes everything it did in terms of methodology. It didn't give me visualizations of everything. That's I looked at the image file, it was empty. So I think maybe you need to prompt it again, create the images and so on. And the key results, it organized it really nicely over here. If you had figures over here, it would be perfect. It gave me the results of each let's say analysis, and you can see the transfer time, departure time, arrival time, and all these nice metrics over here for each type of analysis, and then a comparison at the end. I mean, this is top tier. And then you can talk about the other publications where this is your PhD dissertation. You click download the file over here, or you want to download the journal article or the research proposal. So just think of it. How amazing would it be if once you're done with your PhD research result, you just create a landing page and send it to anyone you want in terms of your family, friends, or even send it to the professors and your peers. And if you're going towards a job as well as a researcher, you just send it the site. That's one plus for Manus. Let's see the process it took. So we didn't identify exactly what process take, but it took a certain, let's say, task sequence to get to the results that it got to. So one, It read and analyzed all the documents I gave it. It got me the key requirements. Let's go through this one by one. So over here, we can replay and see what happened exactly. So it first installed a couple of folders or libraries to get the job done on its PC. And then what happened was it read everything, and then it wrote down this nice to-do list over here where it's the document analysis stage and then research development stage and final deliverables. So it went through these tasks one by one. The highest time consuming task was this one over here because I was waiting a lot until it gets done. And then, as you can see, it's going through everything. It's writing the task. It's going and searching the web as well for research papers. As you can see over here, PDF, 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 reading through them, seeing ones that were relevant, adding it to the table, then citing everything in the format that I gave it over here. We're going to look at the files in a bit. And then it went through research development, wrote a bunch of code. And by the way, when I did my PhD, look at this is April, but when I did my PhD, I wrote this in Fortran. One, because it was a requirement. This is Python over here. And two, this took me so long to write. I can see certain things that I remember I was looking at. Also, what impressed me was it looked at the right parameters to see if its results are correct or not. It was somewhere here, over here. Their iteration is not making good progress as measured by the improvement from the last 5 Jacobian evaluations. This is exactly what I was looking at. And my advisor had to tell me to look for this at this number to know if my results are good or not. And Manus just knew this at like by itself. So it wrote everything. The reports are over here. Then this took a lot of time. As you can see, it was like from 8:57 all the way onto 9 something. And then it came up with this dissertation. We're going to look at it in a bit, which is the final report. And then it wrote a code for the website that I just showed you. And at the end, it gave me everything, as you can see. I can't validate the results right now because I need to run simulations and I need to see the numbers and so on. That's just at the top of my head. But it's very well shown or presented. That's a plus. This is a big asset over here, but now let's look at the reports and the quality and the value of the reports it has. So the reports over here, it first started with a README file. So I put it here. It was in Markdown. So I put it over here just so we see everything. It gave us a README file. README file gave us what's the overview of this project, what are they doing, what are the other files included, the landing page and so on. What's the research highlights? What did we reach into? And how can you navigate everything? And how can you run this model if you have Python? And how can you compile the LaTeX format of the scientific publication? This is amazing. So this is a README file. It gives you instructions of what to do. Then let's look at the problem definition over here. The problem definition is a one pager. We asked it to do a one pager, 3 references, correct. The methodology, correct. And abstract. It followed the instructions in terms of formatting. And let's quickly read this and see if it makes sense in any way. Optimization of direct load transfer between, okay, this makes sense. And then this is also, it makes sense. It's the research. It builds upon other research as well. And it explains to you that how it builds upon other research by resolving the duration propellant cost dilemma through innovative trajectory design. Amazing. Methodology. I want because I remember how I did this. So let's just compare how I did this with how Manus did it. Characterize the Saturn moons exactly as a coupled. Okay, amazing. Generate families of, okay, this took me a while to do in Fortran. Compute stable and unstable invariant manifolds. This took me a while as well. Develop and validate analytical to, okay, this was one of the steps that I jumped from here to here during my research, but this, it seems that is part of the process. Optimization, analysis of the trade-off, yes. Okay, impulsive maneuvers for low trust trajectories, incorporate mission constraints. Amazing. It took practical mission constraints. For example, when you send the satellite into outer space, there's power constraints, communication constraints, if you can talk to it, the science requirements. Design a couple, okay, amazing. Validate results through numerical simulation. So put this this task sequence to get the job done. Amazing. So this is check. This is check. And now let's look at the literature review first. Let's see. It took out the scientific papers as we saw it browsed the internet. It saw these papers. Let's see if I know these names. Yes, yes, known names in the industry. Yes, I've read most of these papers. Campone, okay. Yes, yes. So amazing. It took out the right papers, like it chose the relevant papers because these are papers I have read during my PhD. It was a requirement on one of the top papers, and it gave me a summary what each paper is about. So this process took a lot of time for me as well during my PhD. It was a continuous process, one, and two, it took a lot of time in terms of reading the full paper. And sometimes what I would do is I read the abstract, read the conclusion, and try to assume or extrapolate what's in the middle because there was no time. So this really like it's really a time saver if I had this tool when I was doing my PhD. Relevant missions. The reason I asked it for this because sometimes when you're presenting your PhD or you're presenting your papers, you want to refer to real missions or space applications just to make it more believable and see this is a real life application, not just a theoretical work. And it chose the right missions because I have talked about these a lot in my papers. Amazing. This is okay as well. Now the key terminology. Okay. 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 Yes, these all make sense. Amazing. Literature review is also check from my side. And I think it did a great job in terms of literature review. What I would like was to have more than 10, ideally 15 we start with, maybe 30, 50 down the line if you want to write your PhD dissertation. But you can do that, of course, if I just prompt it again and tell it, okay, now look at 50 more papers in the field and write something about it and add it in the dissertation or the report, the final report. Amazing. So for the proposal, let's see, after it read the literature review, it found the gaps. So it wrote an abstract over here. This is the research, what it aims to do, but potentially, okay, building upon this, the approach will be, okay, table of contents, introduction, research objectives. I'm going to read that and the research problem. Literature review, it took everything from that and just wrote it down nicely. Yes, and research gap. This is the most important part for me. The work it did, preliminary work, research methodology, it explains it, the work plan, and the expected outcomes. Okay, let's jump to the research gap just to save time. 2.5, nice equations over here. Okay. 2.5 here. Despite the significant advances in low trajectory, okay, the gaps remain as follows. The analytical two-body approximation by, okay, the unique characteristics, okay, the trade-off between propellant consumption and transfer has not systematically been optimized. The integration has been okay, but remains underdeveloped for Saturn, so an application. The incorporation of mission constraints, so real world constraints have not been considered. So the research aim to address these gaps by developing an optimized methodology to do so, with a focus on duration and propellant costs dilemma. Okay, amazing. This would take me a long time to figure out. So that's done as well. And the final one now, the PhD dissertation, which is the final report. Super excited to see how this looks because this is like takes 2 years to write. So the PhD dissertation, the acknowledgements, table of contents, literature review. This should be updated. So another thing I would add here is I would add a prompt or add another task is then during or in between the research or the literature review that you did and then the PhD dissertation, do again a literature survey review and update what you have. So you have a big bank of literature review and identifying more gaps for the recommendations and results you have. So this is one. Mathematical formulation, I'm going to check that in a bit. Methodology, numerical simulations. I want to see results here. I want to see figures because my advisors were really high on figures. So objectives, okay, as we read, dissertation structure, amazing. The literature review, it organized everything. Does it have citations? Yes, it has citations, as you can see over here. So it's citing different work. And I'm just checking if it's doing it in an order of date. It is, as you can notice, 2000, 2002, 2003, then 2011, 2011, 2009 over here, then 2010, I think because this is related to this, then 2012, 2014. Amazing. It did a great job in terms of that as well. So formulas, yes, 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 yes. Yes, it took these physical parameters. Yes, this took me a while to derive as well. Okay, okay, okay. In orbits, invariant manifolds. Okay, data two. Okay, amazing. So this passes in terms of the formulas and everything, and it also goes deep here in terms of cost functions and optimization. So amazing. I know this is getting a bit practical, but that's not the point. I'm just checking if this work is actually usable or not. I'm not sure why it does this. Maybe this needs fixing in terms of the markdown, but let's check. I want to see the numerical simulations. So are we there? Here it is. And this is it. So it did a simulation and presents the results. So it wrote code, it simulated it, and it got certain results. And the results are the transfers, how much it cost, and how long it took from different planets. But what I would add here is add more figures so I know which trajectory and how it looks like. That's one. But it gave me the code, so I can run the code and see the results for myself. That's a plus, but I would also add that part to it. Like minor fixes here and there, future directions, conclusions, future work and recommendation, references. It did a bunch of more references, as you can see. So we had 10 there, but it also looked into more research paper, derivations as well. Amazing. So the question now becomes, does Manus pass as a PhD or not, based on the criteria we had in this sheet over here, this criteria over here? Does it have the knowledge? Yes. Does it do the quality? This is irrelevant. This is a pass over here. It's a pass over here. And we're going to look at this in a bit. But so far, it's doing great job. And this over here is the final publication, fully formatted by Manus, the abstract, the introduction, ready to be published. I think citations may be out of by the way, this took me a lot of time to format, like when I was doing it manually, to get the lines right, to get this table to fit in with the exact numbers and the exact signs over here, and get formulas right, the underscores, the symbols, and so on. I think the pictures are missing. Yes, that's one point. Another point is, let's check the citations. The citations is missing as well, but these are all possible if I prompt Manus again and tell it to fix it. Because if it did all this so far, I'm sure it can fix the citations on these reports. And that's not much of work. Does Manus pass as a PhD or not? So, as a PhD, you need to find a gap within a marketplace or a field or a space or a certain industry and say, I'm going to contribute in this way and solve for things people have not thought about yet. I'm going to build upon a certain research. So, what Manus did over here, it followed the strategy that I told it to. Give me the problem definition, give me the literature review, look at what are the gaps within that industry, within a particular topic, and now solve for it by running certain simulations and getting results that may be better than others or doing things that others have not thought about yet. And it did that, and it showed this ability as well to show or present its work to others in terms of publications or formatting or academic journals or even a website as well. So for me, Manus did the job. I did not still check the results, whether they're correct or not, whether the simulation numbers are correct or not. That's I'm telling you, I'm being very transparent here. But as it looks so far, this is 80% of the job of a PhD candidate. And it did a great job doing that. And the reason I'm smiling right now is because this took me 4 years of pursuing my PhD, to do literature review, to go back and forth with my advisors, to write derivations of mathematical formulas, and also write code in Fortran. If I told it Fortran, I'm sure it's going to do it. But the point is, we can adjust and talk to it right now and take it to the next level. Or we can tell it, or what I have in mind right now, what I'm going to try is, okay, now validate the work you did so far and tell me a solid reasoning why is this a gap within the market, and fix it and do more literature review and get more data out of this field, and tell me the state of art research that we could publish in a top publication right now. And this is extremely powerful only if I can confirm right now the results are correct.